interrupted. We were having a good conversation about the other issues, but does the Obama administration remain committed to President Reagan's so-called 6 assurances to Taiwan? Is that still our position?
Senator, thank you. The underpinning of our policy is our One China policy, the 3 U.S.-China joint communiques, and the Taiwan Relations Act. But the quote-unquote 6 assurances that you're referring to continue to play an important part as an element of our approach to Taiwan and the situation across the strait.
All 6 of them remain the policy of the United States?
What I would say, Senator, is that in the context of the agreements that I mentioned, what's known as the 6 assurances comprise an ongoing element of our approach to the Taiwan question.
I guess my concern now is why can't the answer be yes, all 6, we remain committed to all 6 of them as elements of our foreign policy? Why are you unable to say that?
Well, what I'm trying to communicate, Senator, is that the underpinning of our approach to Taiwan is the One China policy, the 3 communiques, and the Taiwan Relations Act. That having been said, what's known as the 6 assurances, which date back to the Reagan administration, as you say, are things that we take seriously and remain important elements as we formulate practical policies vis-a-vis.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the answer because on a number of occasions after meeting with the president, the Chinese have actually misrepresented. In fact, in one instance, the Chinese actually said that the U.S. policy towards Taiwan was evolving and changing. And so I understand you're not the decision maker about what our policy is, but I must say I am concerned that I'm unable from the administration today to get a statement that these 6 assurances remain, all 6 remain things we are firmly committed to, as opposed to simply things that inform us or elements of our policy. So I am not wrong then to leave here today and say that all 6 assurances remain elements of our policy, but they are no longer necessarily the cornerstone of our policy, or that the administration is not prepared to say that we remain committed to all 6 in their totality, as understood by President Reagan when he enunciated them.
I'm not familiar with categorical statements of that nature in this or in recent administrations, and I think, Senator, that it's wisest to approach the challenges of Taiwan based on the agreements and the legislation that I've described, but mindful of the important elements that are captured in what you refer to as the 6 agreements, including, for example, principles that we continue to abide by, such as our unwillingness to engage in any sort of prior consultations or discussions with the Chinese regarding arms sales, just as an example.
All right, so let me just ask this then. It continues to be the policy of the United States that we will maintain the capacity of the United States to resist any resort to force or other forms of coercion that would jeopardize the security or the social or economic system of the people on Taiwan? That remains our policy?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Thank you. And I too have to go to a meeting, but there's a couple of important questions that I wanted to ask you. First, and Senator Cardin just outlined this, I wanted to get back to this topic of the 6 assurances under the Reagan administration, because I think they're, to be clear and unequivocal with regards to that, is critically important in terms of the message that we send and, quite frankly, the balance in the region. I asked that question of Secretary Russell a moment ago. You were both in the audience and you heard his answer. And I wanted to get your impressions after hearing. I tried multiple different ways to get someone from the administration to tell me that the 6 assurances remain the cornerstone of our policy and an important part of that we still stand by those assurances. I don't think I got that, and I wanted your interpretation of the answer that we got with regards to that question.
I was surprised that it wasn't a more direct response and that it couldn't be made in the affirmative. Certainly, when we were in government, we would have said absolutely yes, and did on many occasions. So I hope the administration has the opportunity to clarify that, because I think the signal that it sends is a reassuring one if our friends in Taiwan know that they still apply in their totality, as your question asked.
To Denmark, did you have a comment on the?
Sure. Thank you, Senator. I think the 6 assurances, as you said, are incredibly important in our relationship. While I certainly can't speak for the administration, it is my sense that U.S. policy regarding Taiwan, including the 6 assurances, have not changed. There were some public comments from other administration officials a few weeks ago on this topic, specifically after the Chinese Foreign Ministry misreported interactions between President Obama and President Xi, which stated explicitly that U.S. policy towards Taiwan had not changed. And I assume that that's still the guiding remarks from the administration.
Yeah, I would hope that that's the case. I again, tried on multiple occasions to get a direct answer, a yes or no. Yes, they remain part of our strategy, and it seems like there are elements of our strategy that might inform us, according to the answer that I got. And I hope we can bring some clarity to it, because I was surprised by the answer myself, and I felt that I didn't think it was a hard question. I just wanted to get it in the record. And unfortunately, we didn't get the answer we want, which I think actually is counterproductive. In fact, I think that in China, that answer that was given here today could potentially be misinterpreted as, in fact, an opening of some sort for a change in the U.S. posture towards Taiwan. I am very concerned about the answer that we got, and I hope that we can bring some clarity to it over the next few days. And I intend to ask that question as well in writing of the Secretary of State to get clear assurances that that remains a cornerstone of our policy.
I think China's policies haven't changed and probably won't for the foreseeable future, but with the trends in Taiwan, particularly the public polling about how people feel about their eventual status after the current status quo, one wonders, does Beijing have unlimited patience? I suspect they don't, because their ultimate objective appears to be getting further away. Their ultimate objective is clear. They want unification, or what they call reunification. The polling suggests that goal is getting further away, which is why I think our support for Taiwan's security needs remain very relevant, even in this era when there's improvements in the cross-strait political and economic relationship. If Beijing understands its policies aren't bringing it closer to its ultimate objective, then the option of the use of force could become more attractive, particularly if we're not doing our part in helping Taiwan with its defense needs.
Well, and that, first of all, I appreciate both of you being here today, and thank you for your testimony, and thank you for your time. That is exactly our concern, that any sort of weakening or questioning or equivocation on the part of U.S.'s stance towards Taiwan, in fact, invite miscalculation or recalculation on the part of the Chinese. And if people think that what's happening in Crimea is complicated, they have no idea what any sort of territorial dispute in this part of the world would look like. It would be incredibly destabilizing, would have an immediate impact on the way Japan and South Korea and other nations portray themselves. And I think the 2 nations who right now feel the most immediately threatened by the aggressiveness of the Chinese government, one is the Philippines, because they simply don't have the capability, and the other is Taiwan. And it is, I think, that any sort of weakening or any sort of confusion about where the U.S. stands and our commitment to this relationship invite potential aggressiveness and aggression in a way that could end up finding us in a conflict that's much more complicated and, in fact, much more dangerous than even what we're seeing around the world today.
大家好，我是主播周玉琴。很多的朋友告诉我们，选择原版的太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌。它添加有羽衣甘蓝，健康再加分。而有睡眠困扰的朋友们，赶快选择蓝色包装这一款晚安加强版，绝对是更有感。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good， 请上快点购为健康下单，而且要记得输入推荐代码，有额外的折扣优惠。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版，新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便。要吃就吃最好的。